This is Kate at the Library of Whispers, and it's coffee time. Today I thought we would take a look at this old cookery book. It's called The Good Housekeeping's Cookery Compendium, and take down some notes and some recipes. So this is part of my garden party planning series. In this video I'm just going to look for different foods and things that I would like at a garden party, and then in the next video I'm going to look at your suggestions that you kindly left me on the community post from a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to get all my recipe books out, and we're going to have a look and see if we can find various recipes for cakes and savouries and drinks and things like that that you've actually recommended to me for this garden party, which I'm very excited about, even though I know it's probably only going to be virtual, but hey, we can dream, can't we? That's what keeps us going, I think. First things first, coffee time. Can you hear it fizzing? So this is just an ordinary latte. It's a Costa latte. It's not flavoured, but I do like it, and it's got chocolate sprinkles on the top. So let's have a taste. Yummy. Okay, so let me move my notebook over to one side, and I'm going to show you this book. Now, I have done a separate video, I think, a little bit of a show and tell of this book before, and I really like it. So in the cover you can see this recipe for Dundee cake, the different sections, and then if you turn to the back cover it continues. So it's divided into 3 parts: basic cookery, picture cookery, cake making. It's compiled by the Good Housekeeping Institute and was published by the Waverley Book Company Limited, London. Now let me see if I can find a date. I think it's either the 1950s or 1960s. And you can kind of tell by this amazing picture in black and white. Look at these really old-fashioned ovens, an old-fashioned kettle. The way the women are dressed as well. That actually looks like the same woman. Either that or she's twins. Oh, here we go. So this version of this book is 1961, but it was first published in 1952. So they do breakfast cookery, fish cookery, meat and poultry, vegetables, salads, cheese cookery, soups, savoury sauces and stuffings, batters, hot puddings and sweet sauces, pastry, cold sweets, tea time cookery, savoury supper dishes, cooking equipment, cooking guide, and shopping and catering. So if I'm thinking about garden party cookery, then I am going to go to, shall always misspell recipes for some reason. I hope that's right. Let's put a wavy line underneath, like so. Going to start with Cornish pasties. Now, in this recipe, we need 6 ounces of diced raw potato, 6 ounces of diced raw potato, a quarter of a pound of lean raw steak or mutton. I actually really don't like mutton, so I'm not going to write that down. 1 tablespoon TBSB of chopped onion, and salt and pepper, 2 to 3 tablespoons of cold water, 1 pound of short crust, I think that means short crust pastry, 1 pound of short crust pastry, an egg yolk or milk, and that will be to glaze the top of the Cornish pasties. Now here they actually have the photographic instructions of how to make pastry, so let me read these. So, number 1, sieve the flour and salt into a mixing bowl, then add the cut up fat. 2, rub the fat lightly into the flour using the fingertips until no lumps remain visible. 3, add the cold water a little at a time, mixing it in carefully with a broad bladed knife. And 4, use the fingers for the last stage of mixing. The dough should be smooth and firm as shown. Now, up here they also have the ingredients for short crust pastry, which is 8 ounces of flour, 4 ounces of fat, half a teaspoon of salt, cold water to mix. Using lard or cooking fat mixed with margarine, make as directed below and use the pastry for pies, pasties, etc. Now this obviously is quite an old recipe book. They use a lot of lard. I remember my mother and my grandmother used to use a lot of lard in cooking. We tend not to use that these days. Okay, so let's write down what we need to do to make the Cornish pasties, and I'm going to have a bit more coffee first. large-sized patty tins. This is what it looks like. It's delicious. Number 1. Boil together water, lemon juice, grated lemon, rind and sugar, and add the blended corn flour. 2. Boil for 3 minutes, stirring well, then remove the pan from the heat and beat in the egg yolks. 3. Do not boil the filling. After adding the yolks, pour it carefully into a cooked pastry shell. And then number 4, whisk egg whites stiffly, fold in caster sugar and pile on the pie. Dredge with sugar and bake. Delicious. Let's see what else we have. Okay, I feel like I've missed something. Oh no, it's just a thick page. So here is how you make flaky pastry. Now remember learning how to make flaky pastry at school, and it's such a chore to do. It seems to take ages. Putting all the little bits of butter out onto the pastry and then folding it and rolling it, folding, rolling, adding more butter. And personally, I think it's so much easier just to buy it pre-made from the shops. So I think that's what I probably would do. But here is a recipe for sausage rolls. Gotta have sausage rolls at a garden party. Here they are. So let's write down sausage rolls. I think it's page 103. Now, let me put down. So this is my sweet recipes, and then I think I'm going to do my savouries here. So page 103 is sausage rolls. Let's have a look. So you make 8 ounces of flaky pastry, as shown opposite, or you do as I say, and you go out to the shops and buy it pre-made, because nobody has the time to make flaky pastry. Trust me, I've tried. Skin 3/4 of a pound of sausages, or shape some sausage meat into even-sized rolls. Proceed as shown in the pictures below and bake in a hot oven, 450 degrees Fahrenheit, gas mark 8, for about 15 minutes. Then lower the temperature slightly and continue to bake for a further 10 to 15 minutes to cook the filling. Serve hot or cold as preferred. So here are the pictures. Number 1. Roll out the pastry thinly and cut into pieces of a size to wrap around the sausages. 2. Put a sausage or roll of sausage meat on each piece of pastry. Brush lower end with water. 3. Roll the pastry round the sausage and press to seal the join. Place the rolls in a baking tin. 4. Make slanting cuts across the top of each and brush with a little beaten egg to glaze the top, like so. I think you could probably also make them with short crust pastry. I know my grandmother used to. Maybe that's because they didn't, maybe there was a shortage of ingredients during the war. So to make flan pastry and a jellied glaze for flans and a mock cream for decorating flans. These look really nice, don't they? I remember making these at school as well. Here is how you put the pastry, you roll the pastry out into the flan dish, like this, and then you bake it blind with baking beans or rice, and then you put in the ingredients, the mixture, into the flan dish in the middle, and then you decorate it with a glaze. Really nice. So now we're on to cold sweets. Fruit in jelly. It's like trifle. Oh, here we go. Trifle. Do we want a trifle at the garden party? Maybe somebody's already suggested trifle, I don't know. Let's carry on looking. Now, junket. That sounds like a really old-fashioned recipe. Junket. Coffee junket. How strange. Fruit fool. Gooseberry fool. Blackberry fool. Blancmange. Or blank mange, as my kids used to call it. Strawberry blancmange and chocolate mould. Not a big fan of blancmange, if I'm absolutely honest with you. Ice cream, yay! I think you've got to have some ice cream. Okay, let's write that down. Ice cream. This is page 114. Ice cream. And then in brackets we'll put homemade. Let's see how they made it in the 1950s, 60s. Okay, so it says, to make ice cream in a domestic refrigerator, begin by turning the temperature control dial to the coldest setting in order to freeze the mixture rapidly. Ice creams must be well sweetened and flavoured. Now nowadays you can buy those ice cream making machines. I haven't got one myself. I've never used one. In fact, I actually have never made ice cream because it seemed to be such a palaver. I love that word, palaver. Let's have more coffee. Maybe not so much in an ice cream maker though, maybe that's a good way of doing it. Okay, let's have a look at this. So you need, I think that's a quarter of a pint. Okay, this is where my magnifying glass comes in handy. You may have noticed sometimes that my eyesight isn't great. And, oh, it's half a pint. This is really handy because it just picks out the small writing that I just can't see so much. Yeah. Okay, so it's half a pint of cream or evaporated milk. Oh, I love evaporated milk. I don't know whether that's a British thing. I used to love things like jelly with evaporated milk on. You get it in a tin. It's so old-fashioned. It's really 1970s. else should we put in? Star fruit. All sorts. Yeah. Yummy fruit salad. Now this is called honeycomb cream. I don't know what this is. Like a custard dessert made with honey. Interesting. Now this is called summer pudding. That sounds nice. I do apologise if my tummy is making slight gurgling noises. It's because it's being made to look at all this food. And I haven't had my lunch yet. So cont. I don't know what that is. I'm not even sure if I pronounced that right. Now we're on to tea time cookery. And I guess some of these things would be nice for a garden party, especially homemade bread to make sandwiches with. Very nice. So let's see, we've got milk bread, currant bread, wholemeal bread, a plat loaf. I've only ever made a plat loaf once. See, you make it into this plat, and actually it was quite nice. Turned out quite well. Oh, bath buns. They are nice. And hot cross buns. Lovely. Let's see what else there is. Scones. Yay. Must have scones. Definitely must have scones. Girdle scones. Do those on a flat plate. Rock buns. I remember making rock buns at school. Jam buns. Yep, there's a bun with a bit of jam in the middle. And a plain fruit cake. And here we have a lady in the kitchen in a very old-fashioned 1950s, 60s kitchen, making some cakes with icing on, a cherry. rest is mine. Oh, gingerbread. I do love you so much. Let's finish this coffee. Now, chocolate eclairs are divine. Do love those. Meringues. Yeah, they're always a good staple. Oh, a lovely Swiss roll. And then here is a recipe for butter icing. And here we have glacé icing. Now, I must tell you that one of my lovely subscribers, I won't mention his name, really likes me to say buttercream. It's very tingly, so I'm going to say it again. Buttercream. That one's for you. You know who you are. And almond icing, royal icing. Oh, small iced cakes, they look delicious. And party cakes, garden party cakes. This one's got a name on it, Joe. And Rose. I think that says Rose. Or have I just made that up? I think actually it's just a couple of walnuts. Never mind. Oh, look at these biscuits. Or cookies, as they're also known. Shortbread biscuits, Scotch shortbread. And we have a colour plate. Now they are brandy snaps. That looks like a fruit cake. And then these must be the shortbread biscuits with a cherry in the middle. They look nice. Oh, look. They look delicious. Now there's a name for those and I can't think what it is. Oh, here we go. Swiss fingers. It's like a shortbread, piped shortbread with a bit of chocolate on the end. There's some chocolate versions of Easter biscuits and flapjacks. There's a recipe for Easter biscuits and Shrewsbury biscuit or Shrewsbury biscuits, depending on how you want to pronounce that. There's a chick. Swiss fingers, flapjacks. That's a nice one, I think, to have a garden party. Right, and then we're on to savoury supper dishes. Okay, so I'm